Now, I am reading from Called to Serve, Autobiographies of Don and Doris Ann Roth. I'm reading from the first half of the book, which is Dad's autobiography, and I'm starting with Chapter 1, Birth and Early Childhood. The year 1927 began with Calvin Coolidge in the White House as President of the United States, with little-known Charles Dawes as his Vice President. A gallon of gasoline cost 10 cents. Wow. And now the average today just passed $5 a gallon nationwide for regular unleaded. That is amazing. And a person could buy a very fine new home for less than $8,000. Wow. A new car costs anywhere from $450 to $500. It was during this year that the New York Yankees shut out the Pittsburgh Pirates to win the World Series of baseball, and we know that Dad loved baseball. In New York City, there were successful first tests in the brand new medium of communication television. Old Man River, written by Oscar Hammerstein, surged to the top as one of the favorite songs of the year.
Old Man River.
Yeah. It was into this kind of world that I, Daniel Andrew Roth, more commonly known as Don most of my life, first appeared on Friday night, April 14, 1927. My father served as a young ministerial intern assigned by the Ohio Conference of Seventh-day Adventists to raise up a new German church in the Cincinnati region. German church. My mother, Matilda, was a busy homemaker with 4 births already to her credit. One son, Herbert, had died in Clinton, Missouri at age 2, nearly 5 years before my birth. The next section is titled My Birth.
Herbert.
Yep. A local midwife helped Mother Roth in my birth process at our home in Norwood, a suburb of Cincinnati, Ohio. My father, Daniel Frederick Roth, rushed through an evangelistic sermon in another section of town. He preached in German, the only language he knew well, even though he had been in the United States for 13 years. My older siblings, Ethel Margaret, Harold Frederick, and Lillian Marie, congregated in the hallway outside the bedroom where I made my appearance. Soon they were taking turns caring for the newest child in the Roth household. Now, just diverting for a minute about the newest child in the Roth household, there is, as of last Tuesday, a newest child in the Roth household. This is the Alex and Chelsea Roth household, and Chelsea gave birth to Lillian Louise Roth. So Lillian was named after Kathy's mom and after Dad's sister, Lillian. Isn't that something? So the Lillian name is carrying on. So here's a couple pictures. Don with his older sister Lillian, and then the second photo is part of the Roth family in Cleveland, Ohio. Back, Ethel Margaret. Front, left to right, Esther Marion, Don, and Lillian. So I'm going to hold this up to the camera so they can see these photos. Months after my birth, my father swung a major real estate deal by purchasing a church for the fledgling German congregation, a church property located at the corner of Hackberry and Fairfax Streets. Next door was a large parsonage that soon became my second home. We lived there until I celebrated my 7th birthday. My memory of the early days of my life is almost non-existent. I do recall very clearly when my mother came home, all excited and upbeat. She had just won a contest in a local grocery store and proudly held an item we had never seen before, an ice cream cake. Wow. I have no recollection of having a bicycle in my youth, nor roller skates, wagons, or any of the other things most children consider essential in their growing up years. I do remember playing games with sticks, tin cans, and hoops. Later on in my first decade of life, I recall having a bag of marbles, and I became quite proficient in playing marbles with my contemporaries.
So he was born in Germany?
No, he was born in Cincinnati, Ohio. So his father was born, I think, in Germany. My German parents pronounced my name with a short "an" as "ah" and called me Donnie because my father's name was also Daniel. As I got older, the name shortened to Don, and I have been known as Don most of my life. However, on all official papers, I record my real name of Daniel. So my grandfather's name was Daniel Frederick Roth. My dad's name is Daniel Andrew Roth, and my name is Daniel Andrew Roth Jr. Okay, the next section is titled Early Camp Meetings. One of the most vivid memories of my childhood included going every summer to Mount Vernon, Ohio, to attend the annual camp meeting for the Ohio Conference of Seventh-day Adventists on the campus of Mount Vernon Academy. By this time, Dad had acquired an old Model T Ford, and the 7 of us, Esther Marion was born in 1929, piled into the car along with all of our luggage, food, and bedding. We then drove over the bumpy roads on the 3C Highway, so named because it connected Cincinnati, Columbus, and Cleveland. I never knew that, the 3C Highway. We always stayed in a private home on the north side of the campgrounds where we could easily walk back and forth to the meetings. On the way, we passed the big barn of the school farm and dairy. I recall climbing into the haymow and jumping down into the piled straw and hay. Haymow, one word. Haymow. Haymow. And lay on the ground floor, a major sport for us during the Ohio camp meeting. I remember listening to stories in the kindergarten and primary tents by such revered storytellers as Uncle Arthur Maxwell and Eric B. Hare. I bubbled with enthusiasm when I returned home to relate to Mother and Father the mission stories they told. It was there in the primary tent of the Ohio camp meeting that I made a resolve that someday I wanted to be a missionary myself. Next to the campground was the county fairground with an oval horse track and a big pond in the middle. We were forbidden to swim in the pond, but I do recall a number of times when we conveniently forgot the admonition and had to swim a la naturelle. I think that means without a bathing suit. One Friday night, I accompanied my father to the big tent where one of the German conference men was preaching. Mom stayed at home with my 6 sisters. During the meeting, a strong summer storm suddenly developed. The wind whistled through the trees and moved the tent back and forth. All of a sudden, the wind surged, lightning struck, and in a matter of seconds, the canvas tent came crashing down on the heads of the huge crowd of listeners. Dad grabbed my hand, and we crawled on our hands and knees through the wet sawdust to the outside where we met pouring rain. Dad took me home.
Where we met what?
Where we met pouring rain. Dad took me home and then immediately returned to the tent site. He and all the other ministers of the conference worked all night to repair the tent and get it in shape once again for the big crowds coming in for the Sabbath meetings. I remember my father as a stern disciplinarian who loved his children but kept reminding us that we were supposed to be model ministers' children. Let's turn to his story and learn how he came to the United States. And that is the end of chapter 1, Birth and Early Childhood.
I don't think I had heard that.